This Week in Richmond is made possible in part by Dignity Memorial, caring for our communities with a network of funeral homes and cemeteries in Virginia and throughout North America. More information about Dignity Memorial's providers is online at dignitymemorial.com. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of the Virginia business community, working in legislative, regulatory, and political arenas to promote the free enterprise system. Information at vachamber.com. Virginia hospitals and health systems provide jobs. They support our economy and promote public health. Local hospitals are always open to help people with unexpected health needs. Having a stable healthcare network is vital. Virginia hospitals are our lifeline.
I just received a letter from a student who thanked me for instilling the love of math in him. That's why I teach.
Brought to you by the Virginia Education Association, because a good education is good for everybody.
Additional support is provided by these sponsors. And by the members of Virginia's public television stations. Thank you.
Welcome to This Week in Richmond, and a very special welcome to Shane Caudill. I got it right?
Yes.
Yes, sure.
Yes, absolutely.
The director of Virginia.
Yes,
EVA,
sir.
EVA.
EVA, yes, sir. We call it EVA. We've personalized it over the years.
Yes. Shortened the Virginia part just to the VA.
Exactly.
And we were talking just a minute ago that EVA is now 15, 16 years old?
16 years old, March 5th of this year. So 16 years in production since we've been out and spreading the good word about procurement throughout the Commonwealth. Yes.
Well, we'll talk some about the numbers later, but it seems like the numbers that most everyone should know about EVA, but the number of people that are using it. But what was the purpose? Because you came on board specifically for this task to get this up and going. Why was it developed?
Well, I came on about 15 years ago, and it really started, you can go all the way back into the late 90s and into 2000. The Gilmore administration was the administration in power at that time. And there were several groups, our agency included DGS, and a lot of organizations were looking to consolidate procurement in an electronic form. There were disparate systems all over the place. Vendors were becoming more electronic. Not from a case of electronic with their catalogs, with how they were presenting things to us. They also wanted to get their business opportunities in an easier manner. At the time, if you go back to late 90s, early 2000, it was very difficult in some cases to find business opportunities. They were being posted in the newspaper. If you were an organization doing business across the state, you had to potentially have a subscription everywhere. You had to visit state offices to find these things. So we would to consolidate not only where the business opportunities were coming to, kind of a one-stop shop, but also leverage some of these electronic relationships with our vendors. They weren't sending us paper catalogs anymore either, or they didn't want to. They were investing heavily in the internet as well. And again, getting back to them not wanting to have 7 newspaper subscriptions or have to walk into a building to see what business opportunities were available. The web was really starting to grow, and providing a tool to do procurement in a web-based environment where business opportunities, it was very easy to go get them. And then from a state perspective, leveraging the purchasing power of the Commonwealth, releasing a tool. And so now in 2017, you say to yourself, oh, well, web-based business, that makes a ton of sense with Amazon.com and Walmart.com and all the different companies that you can do online purchasing. But take your mind back to the late 90s and early 2000. Instead of coming in and saying, well, we want to go software, we want to remove paper processes, and we're going to put go to each computer across the Commonwealth, which is literally thousands of users, and install something. We were going to deliver these procurement tools, deliver your ability to cut purchase orders, to list your business opportunities, to do your evaluations, to consolidate the spend. We're going to do it with the web. And that was a big leap that the Gilmore administration at the time, it actually was bipartisan. The Warner administration came in and carried that forward. But a big leap for us to say we're not going to do a local install. We're going to deliver this through the web. You know, we're going to leverage software delivery through the web to gain some of these great things for the Commonwealth. Easier to do business, leverage and consolidate spend, and have those tools where if I need to make an update, David, I wouldn't have to come to your office and make the update.
Right.
I push it out to the web and everybody can take advantage of it.
And the number of visitors are pretty astounding, the number that you have each week.
Yeah, each week it's I think the number we float out around 4,500, unique visitors, 30,000 in a month that are hitting our webpage, eva.virginia.gov. We're doing 700,000 POs per fiscal year, and on average. Wow. And then issuing 16,000 solicitations, which is business opportunities that our vendor community can come to. It's publicly posted. You don't have to be registered to see that stuff. And, it's the idea of making things transparent, making it as easy as possible to do business with the Commonwealth, and then leveraging that spend from our perspective to get the most competition and increase that competition to hopefully drive our prices down and get the best products and services we can possibly get.
Is the biggest challenge to get small businesses or large? I would think that large corporations with large staffs would be right all over this.
Exactly. I think, we're work in partnership with SBSD, which is the Small Business and Supplier Diversity Agency that does, at least for the Commonwealth of Virginia, the certifications of small businesses. Right. I think the trick, I don't know that it's a challenge necessarily. We hope we make everything easier. We hope that by having things out there publicly, by allowing our vendors to very easily get to these business opportunities and respond and participate in the procurement process, that we make that process easier no matter what the size of your business. I think our challenge, honestly, is just continuing to do the outreach and the marketing. Thank you again for getting the opportunity to come to a show like this to talk about what EVA does. Because that's the biggest thing. I have a marketing and outreach coordinator that works directly for me, Kim Madison, who was kind enough to join today for moral support.
Right.
But
yes.
One of Kim's roles, and it is never ending, is literally going out on the road, talking about what EVA does, talking about how you do business with EVA, how you do business with the Commonwealth. She partnered with the Secretary of Administration, Nancy Rodriguez, who you had on your show, I believe it was several months ago now. Mm-hmm. And she talked about how to do business with Virginia. That's a program that they kind of came up with together. That is our biggest challenge. It's constant, getting the word out, letting people know how easy, at least we feel, it is to participate. So again, getting an opportunity like today to be able to speak with you and to share that message, that is the challenge, and that is what we're constantly striving towards. And it's never ending. We're never going to stop doing that. Yes. We're never going to stop trying to spread the word.
Now, I was reading over some notes, and it talked something about real-time connection.
Yes.
And tell us a bit more about that. What does that mean to someone who's watching to know that they would get real-time connection?
Well, the real-time connection comes in many facets. So the real-time connection can be the fact that once an order is approved at the agency level or entity level, we also have local governments that use our tool. Once the order is approved, within seconds, as a vendor, you're getting that order.
Oh, that's
all great. Right. So that's processing, and that's where you talk about efficiencies. We moved, going back to the 90s again, in early 2000 when we cranked up in 2001, we moved from a paper process in general. Some agencies had some electronic tools, but we moved from paper into that electronic processing. So that's one of the real-time connections, is that immediate connection to orders. The other piece that we're very proud of, that we talk about a lot, and one of our major tenets of what we do is transparency and accountability into the procurement process. So literally, and we fudge a little bit when we say real time, but literally within the next day of a transaction being finalized in the Commonwealth, be that a business opportunity being published, an order being delivered, an award being made, that data is available for government, vendors, and our citizens at large to go in, see what the purchase was, see what the business opportunity is, that real-time connection. And I actually am even selling the business opportunity piece short. As soon as an agency, entity, local government posts a business opportunity to EVA, it's immediately goes up on our website.
Yes.
There's also this concept of notification that goes out. So we have right around 100,000 active vendors in our tool. And as soon as a business opportunity goes out, we match them through their login profile, how they registered with us. So not only do we post the opportunity publicly where you can search it and find it, you can use your mobile application, your mobile phone to find that. We also push a notice out to the vendors as well for matching opportunities to try to drive that competition. So when we're talking about that real-time connection, it's orders, it's business opportunities, and it's data. You know, the ability to get in, what's the Commonwealth buying? Who bought it? For how much? We even go out to our vendors, and when we're doing outreach to them, if they have a competitor, somebody that they compete with in the marketplace, if they're registered in EVA and doing business, we show them how to run reports to see what their competitor's doing in the Commonwealth, who they're selling to, when they're selling, how much, the quantities, everything. So again, that open and transparent part of procurement, it's a major, major tenet and a major driving force to why we do what we do.
You mentioned the app, and quite frankly, I did not know you had an app
Yes.
until we were preparing to have this conversation today.
Absolutely.
And it was obviously easy to download, but it's so easy to use.
Well, I appreciate that.
And it was another tool right there that someone can use if they have it in their pocket instead of having their pad or their computer with them.
Well, absolutely. We look at this, David, a tenet of what's going to be the easiest method for you to participate. So you mentioned larger businesses.
Right.
They might have staffs that are focused on sales and marketing and responding to business like that. Well, certainly a mobile app could potentially cater to those folks. But the mobile application, we really want to cater to maybe a smaller company that it is one or two folks, and they're busy. We use the term doing the do. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they're busy doing that maintenance. They're busy selling their product. They're busy doing the construction job or the wiring or the plumbing or, you know, selling their MRO or their uniforms or whatever their skill is, that they don't have the staff that's maybe sitting in an office just watching this stuff come in. So if they're on the go, they get that email that there's a business opportunity, they can immediately flip that over, look at it on the app, add it to a watch list so they can watch it, take action on it maybe when they do have some downtime to potentially respond to a business opportunity. So that's absolutely why we put those mobile applications together.
Now you mentioned, let's go back to the public, because some of the people watching the show and other people in the Commonwealth are not so much, may not be interested in the buying or the selling, but they have the public has access and can get information. But,
absolutely.
You know, whether it's people on the left or the right or the center, wherever they are politically, transparency is a big buzzword right now, and more than a buzzword. People are interested in that, and they're wanting to know what is being spent by, and what's this costing, and so the public can go on and do.
Absolutely. eva.virginia.gov, that's the website. It is wide open to anybody that wants to get in there and do this type of analysis, this type of research, or if they're just curious to see, you know, maybe, hey, we don't like it, but maybe they're angry at state government for some reason to get in and say, I want to see what this agency's doing. It is all there. It's available for them to look at. Again, it's right off of eva.virginia.gov, and it's available to anyone. The one thing we do, just to be fair, since we're in a public forum here, We do protect sensitive information.
Oh, yes,
So
certainly.
tax IDs, Social
Right.
Security numbers, medical IDs, things like that, that would be sensitive. That's going to be stripped out. We're not going to have that available. But in general, if a business opportunity is made available, if a purchase order has been cut, if an award has been made, that information is out there. You can see it. For the business opportunities, it's real time. For the purchases that are made, I would use the term near real time. So if I make a purchase today, tomorrow morning you're going to be able to go in, see that, see who cut it, who it went to, how it was paid, the whole 9 yards.
I saw the phrase too, at a glance dashboards.
Yes.
Now, what's that?
Well, that is something we did. Number one, we like to do it anyway, just to make our data more digestible. You know, I mentioned 700,000 purchase orders and 16,000 solicitations, and I can just rattle off stats at you until I'm blue in the face. But again, sometimes to our public, sometimes at a managerial level within the state or an executive level at a business, or a business owner who's on the go and doesn't have time to digest 700,000 POs or the subsequent line items that go with that, which actually ends up into millions and millions and millions of rows of data on a given year. You can go into these dashboards, see the top commodities that the Commonwealth is spending, the top 20 vendors, how SWAM is broken down. And SWAM is our Small Women and Minority, our Disadvantaged Business Program that we mentioned earlier with SBSD that does that. So that ability to go in and see that data at a glance. We also, for our General Assembly members, put together a legislative dashboard for them where they can see spend broken into their secretariats, you know, and then the agencies that roll up into the secretariats, and then how they're performing, the different agencies and different secretariats, with meeting their SWAM goals, which is a big tenet of this current administration and supporting those goals. So again, at the glance dashboards, and a lot of our dashboards, if you want more of that detail, you continue to click and you can drive down into the specific line item information.
So what about the procure to pay dashboard then?
Okay, so this is something that we are really excited about and that we're in a pilot program with. We have in our, EVA is run out of the Department of General Services. And in our enabling legislation, there is a language about tying procurement to payment and our ability for us to do that. So we're looking for cost-effective methods to pull that off. It's not always, connecting disparate software systems or spending lots of money. Some of it is just getting the right data together and being able to display that publicly on the platform that we already have existing with EVA. So what we did for this one in particular, and how we caught, I believe, your attention at some point here recently, was taking DGS as an example agency, consuming into the EVA data warehouse that financial data, so the vouchers, as we cut a voucher to then authorize a check payment to go out to a vendor. And on our vouchers, we've captured the purchase order number. It's as simple as that. So we've pulled that voucher and financial data into EVA, matched it with our PO data, and then for any given fiscal year run, vendor, PO, we can tie the two together. So you can very quickly, for a fiscal year, if I have a PO, I can see the matching payment. In the reverse, I can see all the payments that have gone out to my vendor community for, in this case, just the Department of General Services at this point. Click on that payment, and if I have a matching purchase order, I can see that as well. And then at each level, I can get the details of the purchase order, the details of the voucher, and you're really getting a feel for, from a PO perspective, here's my commitment. Here's the commitment the agency made, and here's the corresponding payment to that. You can see if there's outstanding payments available. One of the things that we found that was very interesting was that the vendors that do subcontracting work with the Commonwealth, maybe they're on a large construction project, and the prime is who we're going to pay. The Commonwealth's going to pay that prime vendor.
Yes.
And we may not even, from a data perspective, have vision into who the subcontractors are. But it gives those subcontractors the ability to come in, see the PO, see when the prime was paid, and then potentially have an understanding of when they can expect their own payment.
And I think I saw somewhere that you might be extending that to the community college system or to others.
Correct. Yeah. What our mission is with this pilot at this point is we're in a, I would call a discovery mode right now. So we are demoing it to whoever will come and listen to us. And David, you several weeks ago were kind enough.
Nice demo. Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Yeah,
we're kind enough to come and sit through that demo with us and kind of gain some perspective on it. Well, we are in the process of doing that with our management at DGS, management kind of across the Commonwealth, and with the idea that if you have the ability to send us your fiscal data with the PO on the voucher, we can consume that in the EVA data warehouse and produce the same reports for other agencies across the Commonwealth. I have a feeling, or my personal feeling, is that our end goal is that this becomes a Commonwealth-wide situation, that we would like to do this across the board, particularly for at the state agency level. I think, I don't know that I could talk to local governments and some of those entities, but certainly at the executive branch level, that would be a very admirable goal. So we're in the process of demoing it, showing it to people, really showing the power of EVA. We're very excited about what we're able to show at my agency, at the Department of General Services. You're correct, the community college system, they saw the demo, they said this is exactly what we need.
That's great.
And they're in the process of testing and getting ready to roll out this reporting for themselves. So, and again, we're kind of in doing a road show, and your show today is a great opportunity for us to talk about that.
Well, during the time we've been talking, some of the time, our viewers have been seeing some of those PowerPoints or slides that were provided. They've seen the EVA site where they need to go to get more information. And as a compliment to DGS and to you and to the Commonwealth of Virginia, a friend of mine who saw the demo talked to some folks in one of the neighboring states. I won't say which of the five. I'll protect the five. And they said, oh, Virginia is so far ahead of us. And having the ability to do what you've just described. So I don't know if that's true in all 5 states that surround Virginia, but Virginia appears to be a leader in this area.
Well, we're very proud of what we've been able to accomplish in the 16 years that EVA has been, we call in production or in use. We have had a tremendous amount of growth. That first month that we started in March of 2001, I think we had 7 orders. Now, like I mentioned, we're doing 700,000 orders in a fiscal year. We are very, very blessed to have grown and evolved. That's a term we use a lot into what we have done. Governing Magazine ranked Virginia in total as the #2 state for procurement, and that includes training, contracting, but we were #1 for e-procurement, which is what EVA is specifically.
I can believe it.
We were very proud of that, to win that award, and we don't want to be in the business of shaming the other states around us, obviously. We want to bring everybody up together, but there's no question we're excited and proud of the transparency we provide. We're excited of the tools that we give not only our government users, but our constituents and vendors and public. So we are certainly proud of that, and we certainly feel like we're trying our best to be cutting edge and to stay on the forefront of being transparent and providing great tools to the people that use us.
Well, in our last minute, let me mention a couple of figures.
Sure.
I've got my notes here.
I appreciate it.
And then get you to speak to it on EVA by the numbers. $30 million annual savings, $11 million administrative efficiencies, and the numbers go on. Wrap it up, maybe talking some about some of those efficiencies and how it's been a savings.
Well, efficiencies and savings for us gets back to not being in a paper program anymore. Being a consolidated system where everybody's coming into one area to do business in the Commonwealth. There's Pew Research kind of tells you the cost of doing paper processes or disparate processes and coming in and doing an electronic one. And that's where we're gaining some administrative efficiencies. The overall, the $30 million in savings that we talk about, that really gets down to competition. We can tell in our sourcing tools with the data we have, and we can tell like-minded purchases that are made, and depending on the type of vendor you use, vendors that participate in EVA give you those items at a better price. And we are showing savings to the Commonwealth and avoiding those costs, and that's a big part of what we do.
That's a great way to wrap it up. And
Great.
Thank you so much, Shane, for being on This Week in Richmond.
David, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
This Week in Richmond is made possible in part by Dignity Memorial, caring for our communities with a network of funeral homes and cemeteries in Virginia and throughout North America. More information about Dignity Memorial's providers is online at dignitymemorial.com. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of the Virginia business community. For jobs, the economy, and public health, Virginia Hospitals, our lifeline.
The Virginia Education Association, because a good education is good for everybody.
Additional support is provided by these sponsors. And by the members of Virginia's public television stations. Thank you.